The day my chosen name became my legal name was the most freeing day of my life. The freedom that washed over me was like nothing I'd ever felt before. It was my first real moment of absolute confidence. I know I've written about my name before, but the journey through the process was special, and I feel like it's time to expand on that journey and finally reveal some truths. Shortly after moving to Portland and getting housing through the local organization New Avenues for Youth, shortened by NAFY, the staff there helped me get all my documents notarized so I could finally get my ID. It was one of a plethora of services they provided. NAFY was one of many organizations servicing homeless youth in Portland, and seeing how quickly they were able to help me with housing, documentation, and employment, I decided to research what other programs were available to me. I wanted to make sure I took advantage of anything that they were offering while I could. One of their sister organizations, Outside In, happened to offer services NAFY didn't. As I was scouting their website, one tab specifically stood out to me. The Identity Project was geared towards helping people get their names legally changed. The wording was targeted towards trans, non-binary, and gender-fluid individuals, but there was nothing that said cisgender people couldn't use it as a resource. I decided to go and talk to them the next day. The Outside In workers who ran this project also operated a day room called Trans Identity Resource Center, TIRC for short. As I walked into TIRC for the first time, the atmosphere was jovial. I was the only youth there, so all 3 staff members sat around to listen to why I was there. As soon as I brought up the Identity Project, all 3 looked at each other confused, as I had already told them I was cisgender. I explained to them how I had used the name Porter for the majority of my life. It was the last name my mom died with. No disrespect to my father, but I didn't want his last name anymore. Having to introduce myself with that last name felt like a dagger in my chest. I told them about how my school hyphenated my last name on all records to appease my emotional state of mind after my stepdad died, but that I needed my last name to be Porter legally for my state of mind. It was time. To my surprise, they all agreed with me. When they created the Identity Project, they never fathomed anyone from the cis community benefiting from it. But sitting there with me, feeling safe in an environment built for trans people, they saw my sincerity. They could feel my agony. And they got me the paperwork to fill out immediately. It all moved too quickly. Ironically, I'd end up working for TIRC shortly after this, but that's a story for another essay. I was paired with Drew, a younger worker who went with me to the courthouse to pay the court fees and help me with my paperwork. As I began filling everything out, I was struck by something I'd never considered. While the goal was to change my last name, I could change my whole name if I wanted to. I could take control over my entire identity with the pen I was currently holding. I could build something fresh. After confirming with Drew that it wasn't inappropriate for me to change what I wanted in my name, I contemplated all the possibilities suddenly in front of me. After turning in my paperwork, posting a notice on their corkboard, and getting a court date for 2 weeks later, we were off. When we returned to the courthouse, I was so nervous. Drew assured me the judge was basically just there to affirm I was who I said I was and to stamp a piece of paper. But my nerves were built from excitement, not fear. The butterflies in my stomach began doing flips and dives as I sat there waiting for my turn. After the judge called me forward and stamped my paper, I left feeling overwhelmingly giddy. It was only 10 a.m., so Drew suggested I take my new paperwork over to the DMV and get my new ID the same day. I had just gotten my first ID a month beforehand, and the worker remembered me. I excitedly handed her all my documents, and she congratulated me on my name change, snapped my photo, handed me my temporary ID, and there it all was. I could finally be me. After a day of celebrating with my friends, I ended my evening all by myself. I sat in my room and looked down at the temporary ID in my hand. My smile was so big in that photo, I could probably count every tooth. I traced my name with my fingertips. It looked right for the first time in my entire life. I didn't just settle on the name I was given. I regained some control in my life by making my name my own. For years, I had told people my name was so unique because my mom was a creative hippie. For people who had met my mom, it wasn't a stretch of the imagination. It was an escape so I didn't feel judged by someone who wanted to judge my name. I'm tired of telling that lie to spare my feelings. It is my name, I picked it, I should own it. And anyone who would judge me for it isn't someone I want in my life anyway. So for the first time in 16 years, I'm ready to disclose my old name and explain my new one. My first name stayed the same, except I changed the C to a K and formalized the apostrophe that had been there my entire life. So Lu'kas with a C is now Lu'kas with a K. My mom loved my name, and I didn't want to take that away. The apostrophe had floated in and out of my name for years, my mom only finally telling school officials in 5th grade that I was authentically there. Now it was legally there. My new middle name was inspired by my old one. When I was born, my mom told my sister Dee that she could choose my middle name. Her first choice was Shorty Elwood, strangely, and my mom immediately nixed that idea. So, Dee settled on Stefan. Not wanting to completely lose that history of my name, I channeled it into a name that had never existed before. Stefan became Eztephajn, pronounced Eztephajn. And my last name changed completely. At the time, my relationship with my father was so strained, I thought we'd never talk again. While I don't regret dropping his name, I now respect his last name and am proud of that side of my family and my identity. But I forever wanted my stepdad's last name, and seeing it finally in black and white on official government paperwork was the ultimate dream come true. Coiner was now Porter. Only 3 letters difference made my life all the better. When I changed my name, I thought Lu'kas Eztephajn Porter would be gone forever. Even writing it out tonight feels incredibly surreal. That was 16 years ago. And now that I am forever Lu'kas Eztephajn Porter, I realize that I didn't become a different person when I changed my name. What I did was open up a door I didn't know existed before, and I walked through it and into a realization of what real freedom tastes like. A taste I've discovered again while transversing my memories and laying my truths bare. A taste I never want to let go of.